Not for the first time, as Trump pivots daily between war and peace with Iran, we're being told that a deal could be near. In reality, both the US and Iran need to open the Strait of Hormuz. Trump needs it because the price of oil is pushing inflation up. Iran needs it because their oil storage has reached capacity and it may soon have to stop producing oil. However this grand bargain is struck, and if indeed a bargain is struck, we should be clear about one thing. Trump has hit a brick wall. If he goes back to war, it would mean targeting Iran's infrastructure. Iran would then reply by destroying the infrastructure of the Gulf. If US Marines occupied the Iranian islands in the Strait, they would become sitting ducks for drones and missiles on terrain that gives them no cover. Such a campaign could be Trump's Gallipoli. In case he needs to be reminded what happened there, this was one of Winston Churchill's disasters that Trump would not want to repeat. If the war restarts, it would also extend geographically. Iran is not bluffing when it threatens to close the Red Sea and the Suez Canal if the US and Israelis started bombing again. If Trump opts for peace, it would be on terms that fall far short of his war aims. A deal would separate the two issues of Hormuz from enrichment. But let's be clear about this. If Iran had wanted a nuclear weapon, it would have got that a long time ago. Successive reports by the International Atomic Energy Agency found no proof of a structured, active nuclear weapons program. Its stock of highly enriched uranium was only created after Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal Iran had reached with Barack Obama. The HEU is a bargaining chip which, for the right price, Tehran will have little difficulty disposing of, either by dilution, as it has already offered to, or by sending it to Pakistan. Trump's three big losses in a negotiated settlement are these: no regime change, in fact quite the opposite. Trump has achieved regime enhancement, no surrender of Iran's missiles and drones, and thirdly, the Strait of Hormuz would be under de facto Iranian control. However freely tankers pass through it, Iran would be paid in some form or other. Any deal structured around these pillars would make it hard even for Trump to brand as a victory, let alone a bang for his buck, roughly between $360 billion and $1 trillion of them. Trump's attack on Iran could have made military sense if Mossad had succeeded in toppling the Islamic Republic within days of the killing of its supreme leader and its top brass. It's now clear from both US and Israeli security sources that regime change by decapitation was the real plan all along. When it failed, neither Trump nor Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had a plan B. Netanyahu and his Mossad director David Barnea seem to have become intoxicated by the success of their pager attacks, which killed 42 and maimed thousands in Lebanon. In fact, the pager attacks and subsequent assassinations of Hezbollah's top leadership only revitalized an army that is today exacting a heavy toll of Israeli military casualties just kilometers from the border. After the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, regime change was planned in 3 phases, the first of which was a ground invasion by Kurdish militias. This was stopped not only by the Iranian Kurds themselves, 4 of whose groups dissociated themselves from such a suicidal venture, but by pressure from Baghdad and Ankara. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called Trump to stop it, and he did. The second phase was for mass street protests, when the Israeli Air Force bombed the Basij paramilitary forces from the air. The third was the establishment of an alternative leadership. Trump soon got cold feet. He also encountered strong opposition from his own cabinet. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the CIA Director John Ratcliffe all expressed opposition to the regime change plan. Rubio called it bullshit. Ratcliffe called it a farce. And so it proved to be. The invasion was an idea Kurdish militia leaders nervously dropped almost as quickly as it was raised. Street demonstrations did materialize, but they were pro-government. The bombings, particularly of a school in Minab, which killed 156 people, 120 of them children, turned public opinion in Iran decisively against Israel and America. Before the war, Iranians were at the very least divided in their support for the Islamic Republic. They didn't have an axe to grind with the West. They just wanted a normal life. The view that Iranians were caught between 2 extremes, the mullahs and America, was one that could be frequently heard by traders in the market of central Tehran. All of that has gone. The idea that Trump and Netanyahu were coming to rescue Iranians from their regime has turned into a sick joke. Support for an alternative to the Islamic Republic has also fallen through the floor. Unable to win a debate, supporters of the son of the last Shah, Reza Pahlavi, are now resorting to violent attacks on anti-war protesters in the UK. Iran is also dividing families in the diaspora in the US on generational lines. Each of the three pillars of regime change have failed. The Islamic Republic is more in control of Iran than it was before the attack. More importantly, Iran has found, through its closure of the Strait of Hormuz and its drone attacks, that it retains the casting vote on what business takes place or doesn't take place around the shores of the Persian Gulf. To the shock of its Gulf neighbours, this stretch of water has become more Persian than it has ever been in its history. Iran has burst the glittering but fragile bubble of wealth and privilege in which the ruling elites in Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Qatar lived for so many decades, untouched by the turmoil and poverty around them. Iran's drones and missiles have not only damaged the physical infrastructure of oil terminals, AI centres, hotels, but those are repairable. It's destroyed, possibly irreparably, the Gulf brand as a playground of the rich, immune from the neighbourhood it lives in and accountable only to itself. Nowhere is Iran's boot more keenly felt than in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Iran has pummeled the UAE. By the 28th of March, it had launched 398 ballistic missiles, 1,872 drones, and 15 cruise missiles at the Emirates, making it the most targeted country after Israel. The effect has been dramatic. More than $120 billion has been wiped off the market capitalization on the Dubai and Abu Dhabi stock exchanges. 18,400 flights have been cancelled. Goldman Sachs estimated that real estate transactions have dropped by 37% year on year. 7 of Dubai's landmark hotels, including the Armani, the Burj Al Arab, Park Hyatt and the St. Regis, are closing their doors as nearly 2,000 rooms are set for refurbishment. Now, of course, attempts are being made to shore up the brand Dubai and spin this as good news. It's the low season. It's an opportunity to renovate. The same thing happened during COVID. And this being a dictatorship with a lip gloss of Western liberalism, a clampdown has been imposed on foreign residents filming the destruction that damages Dubai's global image. At least 70 have been arrested. Sharing footage will lead to fines of over $260,000 and prison sentences of up to 10 years. The attacks have not just shut down the tourist industry in Dubai and Abu Dhabi's oil production. Aluminium production has been stopped after the Al Tawila smelter was struck by missiles and drones. The halt to production at Emirates Global Aluminium, along with reduced operations at Qatar's Qatalum smelter, takes offline 3 million tons of annual capacity, close to half of Middle Eastern aluminium output. The Dubai gold market has also lost its shine. Singapore has shipped back 1,446 kilograms of gold bullion out of Dubai since the war began, as investors fret about the insurance provision and the ability to get at the gold at short notice. Jewellery exports from Dubai have dropped by between 80 and 90%. The same thing is happening to data centres. Pure Data Centre Group has put investments in the region on hold after 2 of its data centres in the UAE and Bahrain were hit by drones, causing outages in banking and payments. The targeting of the Emirates was neither accidental nor unannounced. Iran had warned anyone who would listen that it would do this. Iranian sources told Middle East Eye that Iranian intelligence had established the Emirati role in the attacks went way beyond hosting US bases. Iranian intelligence claims the Emiratis also made some of its own air facilities available for operations against Iran, and that Abu Dhabi served as an advanced platform for Israeli interests in the region. This included launching false flag attacks on Oman and at least one other country intended to look like Iranian ones. Iran also believes that the data centers in the UAE are being used to support data collection and analysis for US and Israeli targeting. That the UAE has gone way beyond its Gulf neighbours in supporting the US and Israel in its attack on Iran is down to one man, its president, Mohammed bin Zayed, often referred to by the acronym MBZ. This Scottish public school educated prince has already done more damage to peace and stability in the Middle East in the last 2 decades than almost anyone else I can think of, bar Netanyahu and Mossad, but MBZ comes a close third. MBZ stopped the Arab Spring in its tracks, funding and organising the deposing of Mohamed Morsi, Egypt's first democratically elected president, and then doing the same thing in Tunisia. He funded and armed civil wars in Libya, Yemen and Sudan. He employed mercenary snipers to kill Yemeni figures from civil society. He's bankrolled war criminals of Darfur, the Hemeti brothers, and supplied them with arms. Literally millions of Arabs have suffered from these wars, but for MBZ it's water off a duck's back. Like Netanyahu's project of expanding Israel's border, MBZ plans to turn his tiny emirate into a little Sparta, with a military and financial reach far beyond its size. MBZ modelled his strategy on Israel's. He was the first to replicate its well-oiled and powerful lobby in Washington. He used that lobby to promote a then unknown Saudi prince called Mohammed bin Salman and introduce him to the Trump clan. This was the essential precursor to the ousting and disgrace of the then powerful Crown Prince and Interior Minister Mohammed bin Nayef, who at the time was the CIA's man in Riyadh. The mentor and pupil have since fallen out with each other spectacularly and irreparably over Yemen. Daras al-Zubaydi, the leader of the UAE-backed separatists called the Southern Transitional Council, had to be extracted by the Emiratis from Yemen after his forces overreached themselves by trying to capture a port on Saudi Arabia's southern border. Saudi Arabia and Egypt are now challenging the UAE's international network of client militias in Sudan, Libya and Yemen by funneling arms and money to their military opponent. But MBZ is not a man to back down. Last week, the UAE announced it was pulling out of OPEC. This was a move that went way beyond releasing itself from the straitjacket of oil quotas. It was designed to hit Saudi Arabia where they could hurt it most and destroy a cartel that had functioned for 6 decades. This is MBZ rolling the dice once more. He's decided the only way forward is to double down on his attack against his 2 biggest neighbours, Saudi Arabia and Iran. It could also be a sign of weakness because Abu Dhabi's dependence on oil will be increased as a result, jettisoning all previous attempts to diversify the economy into tourism, AI and industry will not go down well in the other Emirates who are less dependent on oil than Abu Dhabi is. Mohammed bin Rashid, the Emir of Dubai and Prime Minister of the UAE, is a poet who expresses himself elliptically, and yet he posted a tweet which only had one meaning: bitter criticism of his president. He said, "The official who does not strive for success of the rest of the officials in this homeland is not trustworthy. Selfishness in success in public work is a betrayal of the trust because the homeland is indivisible," he wrote. The rift between Riyadh and Abu Dhabi is deepening. The Saudi poster, Columbus, widely thought to be Saud al-Qahtani, MBS's media czar, reposted an old clip of a speech by the Saudi Energy Minister Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, saying, "Anyone who gambles in the oil market, we will make them suffer intensely." The move out of OPEC is a huge gamble for MBZ, considering how vulnerable his emirate is, how small its armed forces are, how dependent they are on foreign mercenaries, how dependent the economy is on migrant workers, and how fickle Trump himself has shown himself to be as an ally. The only explanation for going after Riyadh, after he's already been punched in the stomach by Tehran, is that MBZ's next move is to announce a military pact with Israel. No other regional power could secure Abu Dhabi physically. Abu Dhabi certainly cannot defend itself. This military pact already exists in reality. Israel flew in a laser system called Spectro to help the UAE detect incoming drones at a distance of 20 kilometers, and another laser system called Iron Beam, which vaporizes short-range rockets and drones, and was first deployed against Hezbollah's missiles in Lebanon. Israeli personnel were also flown in to operate the system. A person briefed on this operation told the Financial Times it's not a small number of boots on the ground. Along with lasers, Israel sent its Iron Dome missile defense to Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Increasing military cooperation between Israel and the UAE can also be seen in the number of tracked flights between the 2 countries. Flight tracking websites show military transports have shuttled between the Israeli base of Nevatim and the UAE throughout the conflict. But to declare a military pact between the UAE and Israel would gift Netanyahu and any Israeli leader who follows him with a military base and a toehold far beyond its borders. Because whatever Trump decides, Israel will not give up on its ultimate goal of regime change in Iran. The Emiratis' increasingly overt involvement in Israel's plans is a recipe for conflict that could in itself last decades and stifle post-war reconstruction on both sides of the Persian Gulf at birth. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Pakistan and Turkey, the key regional diplomatic, military and economic players, should not simply stand by and watch these plans unfold. These countries have a real and urgent common interest in containing Israel and its Emirati ally with a regional security pact, and the time to do it is now.